In a world with only hot takes,
Two college friends try to cool down sports media.
join Jack and Jared every week as they tackle the biggest stories in the NFL.
And give the reasonable football analysis you won't hear anywhere else.
Welcome to 710
710
Sports.
And welcome back to 710 Sports with
Jack.
and Jared. Thanks for joining us. It's been a while, but we got a big podcast in front of us. We got a hot one today, talking about Bill Belichick and the Patriots, as well as all these QB injuries and what's going on with the NFL QB injury problems, with a bunch of second string guys starting this weekend and have been all season. We're also going to be talking about who's the NFL MVP right now, who we think is going to win the NFL MVP, as well as a podcast favorite for us here at 710 Sports, the 49ers. Is it finally their year? We'll have to find out towards the end of the podcast. But as you guys know, it's been a little bit, it's been a while. Jack and I, unfortunately, this is not our full-time jobs. If it was, I don't think we'd be able to pay rent. So, we've been busy, but, we had some absolutely banging topics we wanted to get to. So we're going to be bringing those to you today. But first off, Jack, how you doing?
I'm doing well. It is nice. We have really with the couple of weeks in there, we got no filler. I don't feel like we have any sort of. I mean, not that there's ever anything that's that much filler, but we have nothing. Everything feels like it could be a first topic of the episode. Everything feels like it could be an A-list topic, which is nice. We've still been talking enough about football, just not on the podcast. We're still both paying attention. We're still with it, which I think will make this one a pretty good episode.
You're absolutely right. This is only A-plus topics here for you guys. And also, we've got some takes we've been sitting on. They've been marinating. We've been thinking about them. We've been itching to talk about them. And if maybe not the number one thing we've been itching to talk about, especially as Jack being a diehard Patriots fan, is, of course, the situation with Bill Belichick. The Patriots are now 3-10 after their win Thursday night. But it still feels like this is the hottest the head coaching seat has been in New England in maybe 20 years. The question is it time for Bill Belichick to leave the New England Patriots via either a firing or a quitting or a retiring? And if so, where should he head? So just that first question, Jack. Do you think Bill Belichick will be coaching for the Patriots next year, or coaching at all?
I think he'll definitely be coaching in general. First of all, I think I have to think first of all, he's at the level. It's not like if he wants to coach, he's gonna coach. Right? Despite the issues this season, it's not like he's out of the league. It's not like he's at that point. And I think he's gonna want to coach. I think even if it takes years, he's gonna want to hit Don Shula's record. Right, and he's close enough, and I think I think he feels like he deserves it. I think he does deserve it, over this years, the success he's had, and so on. So I think he's gonna stay coaching, like he wants to. He'll want to, which means he will. Whether it's with the Patriots, it's tough to say because one of the issues with Bill, I think, is going to be his ego, and is going to be. I think the Patriots need to have someone else in there helping to call some of the shots. Bill has had GM privileges, which not a lot of head coaches have for years, and he's made good potentially his entire career, with the Patriots. I forget about that part if that's true, but and he's had good draft picks. He's assembled good rosters, and this has happened. But there have been some clear roster issues throughout the year this season. Throughout the season. Some may say last season, some may say the season before. Some may say the last season or two with Brady. Right? You can go back. There have been some terrible whiffs in the draft. There have been whiffs of free agency, and that's an issue. And they need someone else there, in my opinion, to help steer that horse. I think his talents. I think he will. There's a good chance he'll stay with the Patriots because he could still coach an amazing defense, despite that terrible loss against Buffalo a couple of years ago, that historic loss. That other than that, he could coach good defense. They've held the other teams in the weeks that the Patriots did not score a single point. the other team scored like 10 points, 9 points, 6 points. It was something like that. They've been holding teams. This defense has still been holding teams to very little without their top two players, top three players, maybe at points down four cornerbacks. Like they've had issues with personnel this year on defense, and I feel like the defense has played pretty well. But they need some sort of burst of life on offense, both potentially coaching. I don't know about that, but at the very least, roster talents. Right? It's been enough. I'm fully out on Mac. Whether it's his fault, whether other years, I don't know. I'm out on him. It's time. It's like they need a new direction, but it's also like I don't know if I trust Bill to then draft that quarterback. I don't know if what's to run that offense. They need more than just drafting a quarterback. They're gonna draft an offensive tackle this year. And I'm going to hate it, but it's going to be the right choice because they need everything. Offense, I know I'm really sidetracking here, but I think Bill will stay with the Patriots because I'm going to hope that he will see, wow, we are ass. I don't know if I can say that on this podcast.
You can.
Wow.
You can.
Wow. We need hopefully he'll say Kraft will he'll be able to say, okay, Kraft, fine. We'll take in the GM. I get to pick the GM. I'm gonna get to pick one. He's gonna help with the draft. I'm gonna trust that Bill isn't gonna try to strong because I don't think Kraft wants him. I don't think we're gonna strong arm him out. I'm gonna hope he's gonna say, okay, we're just gonna get someone in. We're gonna get someone else in, another cook into the kitchen, and we're gonna try to work. We're gonna try to have two cooks, not just Bill being the cooking everything at once. Let Bill focus on what he's good at. Let someone else try to help with the offense that has struggled even in the last Brady years.
Yeah, I think that question of does Bill have the pride to give up the more GM part of his job? That's if he maybe can, I can see that relationship sort of possibly working out, and I think it makes sense for Bill to stay in New England and finish his career there and get the record there. But honestly, if I was New England and I was in charge, I think I'd be letting Bill Belichick go. And I'm not sure if you've seen the video, but it was a viral clip of Zappy coming into the locker room, dapping up Bill O'Brien, right? Or no?
Bill. It was.
Yeah, Bill O'Brien, the offensive coordinator. He daps him up. They're looking excited after the big win on Thursday night, and then he sees Bill, and it's just like a completely different reaction. It's like stone faced. It's like, and then it's like a really awkward handshake, and it's just, and I think that if you look at the Bill Belichick coaching tree, you can see that this type of culture that he has built there for 20 years, although it's been the greatest dynasty of all time, it has not transferred very well anywhere else. You can see, look at his coaching trees. The best coaches that have coached after him is definitely Nick Saban, but not in the NFL. He did not have success in the NFL, only in college. But you look at after that, Patricia. It's Bill O'Brien, right? Is probably the best head coach. You've got Patricia, Brian Flores, Joe Judge, Dayball, Romeo Crennel, Josh McDaniels, of course.
Josh McDaniels,
yeah,
classic.
I mean, they are his coaching tree as head coaches are 219 and at 306. Win-loss record.
That's that's a lot more wins than I thought. Is that counting college though?
No, it's not. It's just in the NFL. Hey, so 219 and 306, but it's under 500, and most of those coaches, only two of them are above 500 in the NFL. A guy named Al Groh, which seems like a fake name if you've ever done any prank calls, and Bill O'Brien, who's 4 games over 500, and that's his only coaching tree. So, so that's one part of it. The other part of it is, well, it's worked in New England, so why can't he just stay in New England? And I think the answer to that is the NFL has changed, and I think he's kind of fallen behind that. If you look at a coach like McDaniels, who's having success in his own division, he speaks to players like they're on the same level, closer to their peers. And I understand McDaniels is 30 years younger, but that might also be part of the problem. Bill Belichick is 71. So if I was the Patriots, I would fire him. And then the transition to the next idea here is like if he does lose a job, or he says I'm not going to give up GM duties, and they kind of have some sort of split, where does he go? I think there's going to be a lot of open positions. I'm thinking Panthers, Chargers, Bills, Raiders, maybe Titans, Commanders will be
It's not.
open. Bears should be open. The entire NFC South should
I mean,
have
yeah,
positions open besides maybe just the one that gets in the playoffs. Maybe even they'll
maybe.
lose their head coach.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so if I was,
If Bill's available, yeah,
I just think that he's going to want to go somewhere like the Chargers and the Bills, but I'd be curious if they're going to want to take him, especially the Chargers after what happened with Staley being a defensive coach. And if he ends up leaving New England, I think he's going to have to be, unfortunately, coaching for one of these more dumpster fire franchises like the Washington Commanders. I could really see him with the Washington Commanders because, it's either he if he gets fired, he has to coach because how much time does he have left? You tell him he's going to go take 5 years off.
yeah.
He's 71.
Yeah, yeah.
So he's going to have to end up trying to grind out wins with the Bears or the Panthers or something like that. What do you think if he wasn't in New England, which you say you think he's going to be in New England, you think that they'll work that out? If he's not, where do you think he's going to end up?
Yeah, yeah, and I think he'll be in the same way the Patriots, always trade back, and of course this is Bill doing this, but always trade back in the draft, always this. It's not excited. I remember when we were living together, we were going to watch the draft. Boom, Cole Strange, offensive lineman. Trade back and then pick Cole Strange, right? So I'm expecting that for that. That's part of it, is that vibes based part there. But I'm thinking, I think places where he'd want to go, Chargers is obviously a big one. They have a lot there. Yes, they maybe still want to go through a rebuild, but that is a place that if they're willing to pay for Bill Belichick and potentially trade, because they might have to, I don't think the Pats are just fired. They're going to trade him potentially for a first round pick. Sean Payton got one, and most people, even the most ardent Bill haters, I think are going to say that he's better than Sean Payton. So I think a first round pick. What's going to be tough is that a team I want to trade a first round pick. The Dolphins. The Broncos traded like the 27th or something. It was like a late first. I think it was the Dolphins first. Maybe it was 23 or something, which is more palatable than what if the Bears want to trade for him and they're going to have like the number 1 and number 5 picks or something, and they're not going to want to trade one of those. But I think a place like the Bears could be a decent place if they trade a next year first, maybe if they trade 2 seconds, something like that. Because imagine if you're the Bears and you have holes in the team, sure, but they're potentially going to have 2 top 5 picks, and if they can trade for Bill without giving one up, which would be crazy if Bill goes for a top 5 pick, and the Patriots should do that in a heartbeat if the Bears will offer that, but I don't think they will. That's what that should be. Like in that, Bill, I think Bill would love that. Bears are a historic team, right? One of the original sort of football teams. I think Bill would love that. I feel like that idea. I'm gonna get the wins record with the Bears. Like that's a history defense right there. They beat the Patriots in 86 or so, and they have picks and they have a ton of draft capital. Falcons are another sneaky pick. Imagine they win the NFC South potentially. Like if they were to, they have their picks. Trade that. If they have pick 18. Trade that. Get rid of Arthur Smith. Get Bill Belichick in there. I think that is a contender. That team has a ton of talent. Actually, they need a quarterback too.
They just need to figure out the QB though.
Kirk in free agency. Even though he's going to be hurt, get Kirk in free. Hire me, Falcons, to be an assistant to the GM. Get Kirk in free agency. Trade for Bill. I think that team is a contender right there.
Wow.
Right. Hot take. They have so much talent on that team. They just coach isn't great, quarterback isn't great. If you can solve that, and Chargers are the obvious answer. Chargers, they should. Will they? I don't think so. Also, because the Chargers' record's pretty bad. I think if they have a top 15 pick, if you're trading Bill for the number 12th overall, that's a much tougher sell than for 23 overall. I feel like. So I feel like that's going to be part of this. But I agree. There are a lot of places he can go.
I think that you're a little bit hotter on Bill Belichick still, which makes sense.
I am.
Than I am. I just don't. I even some of the stuff you're saying makes sense. Like Atlanta would be a good landing spot for him. I just don't know if I believe it's going to work.
It's also because that's a running based team. I think he'll there's some talent on the secondary. I think for the Falcons, but they also have enough. Like that's enough of a running team rushing based offense that I think old school Bill can work with that for one thing, and that's part of why I'm saying if there's a good veteran you can get, which of course is tough, that's a very hard task in the NFL, and Kirk is going to be coming back from a long term injury, but you don't want Bill needing to train this young quarterback, right? That I think we can all say at this point.
Definitely not.
You do not want that. You do not want to draft. You don't want to trade for Bill and then draft a quarterback. Because that might be tough for the Bears if they do that. But maybe he wants Justin Fields. But that would be tough for them. But I think a team who you don't have to worry about the offense. Think of it that way. Mm-hmm. So if you can trade him to the Chargers and Kellen Moore can handle the offense, if you don't promote him, you trade for Bill Belichick, and you have Kellen Moore run the offense. I think right. That's what I think the perfect place for him. I can't think of it right now, but a team that has the offense handled for whatever reason, handled enough to be average. I think that's who trades for Bill Belichick because he's more than just a defensive coach. He's hopefully would be an amazing defensive coach. Would be what an owner would hope for.
And you bring up the idea of the QB, and it's a great transition directly to our next topic. We've got, I think, going in this weekend, 12 backups starting. Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, guys like Gardner Minshew, Josh Dobbs, Bailey Zappi already got a start.
Jake Browning, I think, on the Bengals.
Jake Browning. You've got Danny DeVito over there in New York. You got whoever the Jets are trotting out at this point from wherever. They need to find their own Danny DeVito.
I'm actually surprised. I'm actually starting tomorrow for the Jets.
Somebody give me a call. I can sling it a little bit. So everyone knows that this is a big story, but I wanted to bring this topic up because the way that I see it is there hasn't been a larger push for player protection, specifically at the QB position, really ever. And the NFL has made it very clear that they want to protect QBs because they know that when the QB goes down, the offense doesn't score. When offense doesn't score, casual fans, many of them do not want to watch the games. Okay. So they need to protect that offense. And so obviously you have rules, and some of them have been around for a long time. Some of them haven't, but you've got rules like the QB slide. You can't hit a QB in his helmet or in his head. You've got rules that you can't hit a QB below the knee so that they, you don't break their ankle or whatever, or pull, tear their ACLs or whatever. You've got rules about, you can't hit the QB after they've thrown the pass, and now it's basically 1 or 2 steps. If you're 2 steps away, you can't hit him. You can't touch him, right? What about you can't fall on the QB? You can't fall on the QB when you're sacking him with your body weight. If you do so, that's definitely going to be a foul. We're trying to make sure that we don't break any ribs, Tony Romo style. That's not cool, right? No, obviously, no leading with the crown of the helmet. And even if you do it all right, sometimes if the hit is hard enough, it's still illegal, right? Because we don't actually want to hit the QBs hard, and all of that's. And I understand the arguments, and you can make logical reasons for why or why not. But the fact of the matter is, these are all the rules, and we still have 12 backups starting this week, right? It's like half the league is going to be running out of backup, and this isn't how it used to be. It doesn't feel like, and I think it's not so much about the protection of the QB that the protections aren't working. It's more that players no longer play through these types of injuries. It's very clear that a lot of new news and information that came out about CTE, the negative effects. I mean, you got Troy Aikman used to talk about how, I don't even remember winning my second Super Bowl because I was so, concussed. Like he legitimately doesn't remember winning a Super Bowl because he was just trotting out there, didn't know his name.
That's tough.
I mean, and if you've ever heard Terry Bradshaw speak, So basically, it's just a different culture, and I'm not saying that these QBs should be playing. I think the answer is they need to figure out a way to farm more QB talent, right? It's going to fix the cap problem with the league, paying these, the top 10, 15 QBs all the cap space. If you have a bunch of QBs that can come in, like backup QBs as well, And when these things happen, when quarterbacks do go down, which they will, you need to be able to have a good set of backups to come in. I mean, we can't even fill starting spots. We got Desmond Ritter starting. What are we doing here,
Oh,
Jack? What do you think about this?
hey, yeah. I mean, I think one thing is, I mean, maybe it is the play through the injury thing because I had just I looked up. It's not like last year the Eagles got the third most sacks in a season, I believe, as a team. Uh, and I'm not sure. Maybe I'm looking at the stats wrong. I'm not looking at total sacks over every single team. But if you look at teams with the most sacks, and I'm looking at that for that is again. Maybe I should look at QB hits, not sacks. Right? There's a bunch of caveats here, but it's not like the most recent top sack years outside of the Eagles last year are like all that recent. If you go through it, you see 84, 89 Eagles last year, 87, 85, 67, 2000, 84, 81, 68, so on and so forth. You go far enough down the list, you see a 2013 if you go far enough down. But outside of the Eagles last year, which really makes you appreciate that season more and how many sacks they got last season, the Eagles makes you appreciate them more. But it's not like quarterbacks being sacked all that much more, at least as far as I can tell from that. It's
Maybe
not like,
less.
yeah, if anything, yeah, maybe less. So it is. I don't know what the issue is because they're being sacked potentially less. They're being hit less. There's all these penalties. People are incentivized to hit the quarterback less hard, but they are getting hurt this year. Have so many injuries. It could just be bad luck. It could just be, we were due for there's seasons where no one of importance really gets hurt, and then this season look at all these quarterbacks who are getting hurt. Deshaun Watson, Joe Burrow, a bunch of the rookie Anthony Richardson. I'm
So
Kirk
many.
Cousins.
Kirk Cousins, Aaron Rodgers, plays in.
Yeah, like you can go down that list and maybe could it be average quarterback age? I don't think so because Joe Burrow's young, Anthony Richardson's young. It's not like Deshaun Watson's pretty young. It's not like I don't think it's quarterback. Kenny Pickett is young. It's not like it's a quarterback age thing. It could just be like the way you said, quarterbacks less likely to play through injuries. And again, it could just be any given Sunday, any given year, it could be that factor of just bad luck. This is just an unlucky year for quarterback play. I mean, we'd have to go in and that's a dumb thing to say, but it is. I struggle to think of many other explanations other than playing through it, other than less likely to play through injury.
Maybe this is an outlier in terms of this is a lot for right now, and I think that could be true. But I still think that we've seen a lot of injuries, even still in the last 5 years, as these protections have been getting stronger and stronger for QBs and players in general. And part of it is, I didn't even mention like the stuff that's for all players, right? Like the blue tent concussion protocols, the outside neurologist that checks on these types of things that have brought in to basically be auditing what's going on the sidelines during this, so that we don't have guys forgetting that they won a Super Bowl. And so, but I just think that, and I don't know much about baseball because, I don't like watching boring things. But
this guy.
but you think about baseball, they've got all these smaller AA, single A leagues with with these farm teams.
It's
where they actually
a farm system,
they bring up talent, and then even just baseball in general, even at the largest stage, you've got your best pitcher, right? But then you've got guys who come in, right? You've really got relief pitchers.
Come in the same game. Yeah, in the same game. You have guys to come in later.
It's a different sport, but we know that when you have a backup QB that is like that, can execute like a relief pitcher, like a Nick Foles, you can actually go and win a Super Bowl.
Or Frank, I mean, and not that they're about to go win the Super Bowl, but the Colts are 7-5. I think they're in there. They have a wild card spot as of our recording of this. They currently have one with their backup Gardner Minshew, and I think I would think Anthony Richardson might play at that level, but that's a big argument. And really, if you asked me before the season started, who are the top backup quarterbacks? Gardner Minshew would have been my top 5, right? Who else would I put as a better backup? There's not that many. There are some probably, but there's not like there's that many. right? So that gets to what you're saying. Yeah.
Minshew gets no respect. I mean, I think we're both pro Minshew guys. Like he leaves the Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence, number one pick, comes in, and the Jaguars, I think, have been worse since. I guess not including this year. But Minshew's record, like as a starter in this league, is good.
Yeah.
But he's a backup for some reason.
But when having a backup like him, it's baseball-esque. It is like you have this next guy up can come in. You do that for other positions. You do that for defensive line. You draft a ton of edge players so you can rotate them out, if they get tired on the third down.
NFL should buy one of these, these spring leagues or something, or make it the minor league, or something. I mean, they're already kind of the minor league, but if you could invest money, marketing, and time into these leagues, maybe you could make the NFL, you could just like farm that talent, like we said. But let's change up gears a little bit. Let's go to currently who we think is the NFL MVP / who we think is going to win the MVP. Right now, the odds favorite is more of sort of a tight race between Purdy and Dak. Some books do have Purdy a little bit ahead as a favorite, but it's basically those two at the top. Then it's Jalen Hurts. And I think Patrick Mahomes is on that list. Much further down would be people like Tua, Tyreek, CJ Stroud. But at this point, it seems like it's between Dak and Purdy. Jack, who do you think is going to win the NFL MVP?
Who do I think will, or who do I think should?
Who do you think should?
Would have been
a better question.
Who do I think should? I feel like if Tyreek is on pace, so he could potentially get the NFL receiving yards record. He could get it in 16 games. Even forget about they've extended the league, they've ruined records by adding a game. Forget about that. He could easily get it with the yards. Some of his games here, he could easily pop off this week, 200-yard game. Next week, 150 yards. Week after 100, he could beat it in 15 games. Right? He's at the point. The Dolphins, whatever it is, he could potentially he could get the NFL receiving record, and a combination of that plus a year of what most people are calling a year of down quarterback play. Right, a year. Patrick Mahomes should not be number 3 or 4 or number 4 in MVP odds. Right, he's an amazing quarterback. He's the best quarterback you want the quarterback you'd most want in your team at any quarterback in the league right now. Right, not disputing. I'm not hating Patrick Mahomes, but he's had some pretty down games, or the Chiefs offense has anyway. And they've been somewhat reliant at times on their defenses, but played pretty well. Like, this is not some Patrick Mahomes gunslinger era sort of thing. It's not last year. It's not whatever. So the fact that he's 4th, I think, tells you something. That quarterback plays is one of many indicators that quarterback play being down. So this would be, in my mind, is a year, unless we get another Adrian Peterson-like year from a running back, I think this would be the perfect sort of situation for a wide receiver to win MVP. Maybe they're going to say, oh, the Dolphins are Jalen Waddle, and he's a receiver. Tua's pretty good. Point to that stuff. But I feel like Tyreek, with the season he's having, combined with other players, like with quarterbacks generally having a worse season, this feels like it should be the time. I know, but unfortunately, we live in a world where the MVP award is the most valuable quarterback award, not necessarily the most valuable player award. Because of that, I would say I would probably favor Dak. Dak's had a pretty good year. Cowboys obviously have a good defense. They do have guys on offense, but it's not like they haven't lost guys over the past couple of years. Dak has lost Zeke. He's lost Amari Cooper. That was a couple of years ago. They've lost players in the secondary. You would know this. So it's not like they're like stacked with talent the way that I like Brock Purdy. But for me, it's a tough sell to make him MVP when that team has the level of talent on it. From the standpoint of most valuable player, most valuable is different from, in my mind, for an award is going to be skewed towards a couple years ago, Jokic winning MVP, right, with the Nuggets. When some of those years, even though the Nuggets weren't that great, okay, he's there because the team is terrible. And if he wasn't there, they would be bottom of the lottery, or top, depending how you think about it. Like, there'd be that level. And I feel like I don't think Brock Purdy's in that situation. Oh, he's carrying the team. I think he's playing really well, and I like him, but it's not like he's Brock Purdy. If you take this one dude out and the team is atrocious, it's not like that. Putting Darnold, and this team's probably over 500, right? If you could put in Sam Darnold and replace him, or a player at Sam Darnold's level, and replace him, and I'm sure there's worse backups than him, but still, like, stick him in there. This team's probably might still be a playoff team, even, right? That's what's tough. As much Brock Purdy's cool, but it's tough to make him MVP when he's playing, unless if he was leading the NFL in passing yards and passing touchdowns. He's got an insane player passer rating. There's some stat out there, mystical stats about this, but it's tough with the team as much talent versus Cowboys offense having a bit less.
So usually, like you said, and listen, right off the top, I couldn't agree more. I think that unfortunately with the level of QB play, and also the fact that I think that based off of the stats and the record of the team, generally the MVP is the quarterback from the number one seed in the AFC, the number one seed in the NFC. And so, or if you maybe just have a statistically crazy year and you're the 2 seed or something, right? So it's like one of the best teams in the league or the best team in the league in the regular season, and you have to have good stats. And that person this year is Brock Purdy, right? Like, they're number one in the NFC. They're probably going to win the NFC. Well, I guess the Eagles are number one, but I'm anticipating San Francisco winning the NFC.
They're going to be top of the NFC anyway.
Right, and Jalen Hurts does not have the stats. So you've got San Francisco that does. Brock Purdy has the stats, but everybody knows, like you said, I want to get to San Francisco in the next segment, but Brock Purdy's not the engine of that team. He's basically the final puzzle piece to get them over the hump. But he's not driving the car, right? Let's talk about Dak for a second too, because I watched the games, and anyone who's seen all of the Cowboys games knows he's not the MVP, right? Generally, when this team doesn't succeed, it's because of the offense. You can look at against San Francisco. San Francisco went up 14-0 right off the bat because I think Dallas went 3 and out 4 drives in a row to start that game against San Francisco. They did not have a first down until the second quarter, a single first down, right? And when you're playing great teams like that, you can't afford to just give up a quarter doing nothing offensively. And who's the leader of that offense? It's Dak Prescott. Yes, of course, he's got a ton of great stats, especially since that game. And we'll see how he does against the Eagles again. But there's a lot of drives like that for the Dallas Cowboys offense this year. And people say, oh, well, they look at the stats. They say, he's got a great TD to interception ratio, and he's got great plays. And I think he's a good quarterback, maybe having his best season, if not his second best season. But
2016, right, or whatever.
I remember that season. He almost broke Romo's passing record. Where he had like 4,000 yards in 2019 or something. But but long story short, Dak Prescott is not the MVP, and so then it's like, okay, well, if it's not Dak, then it's probably Purdy, and it's not Purdy, so it has to be somebody else. So it's got to be Tyreek if he breaks the record.
I'm begging. If he breaks it. If he breaks it, I really feel like it should be. You know what? It is a hot take. I'm glad I thought of this. I somehow forgot this, but I mean, potentially a hot take. If Kirk didn't get hurt, I think Kirk should have been the MVP. I would fight this take. He was doing this that first part of the season. Some of their losses weren't. He was playing great, and Justin Jefferson. Maybe he's playing now. I forget off the top of my head.
He was out,
but he's been out. He was doing this without the best receiver in the league, other than Tyreek, probably, right? Like you could argue who you want more. I'd probably rather have Justin Jefferson, just him being younger, but like he's doing this without Justin Jefferson, right? He was, right? I said he is. He was doing it without Justin Jefferson. If he doesn't get hurt and he continues to play at that level, even if the Vikings are the 5 seed, I think he would have ended with some crazy yards. He would have ended with some crazy stats. And in a time when other players aren't, when Purdy is the dude we're talking about at top of the MVP list, and he is like 7th in passing yards this season or something. Or so many other quarterbacks getting hurt, right? It's not like he's got to compete, not compete against Joe Burrow because Joe Burrow is hurt. There's plenty of other quarterbacks hurt I can't think of. Kyler Murray was hurt to start the first half of the season. Like, it's like I think if it weren't for him, and even if Tyreek has his performance that he's been having, right? Kirk's a quarterback. He would have had that advantage. So in my mind, I would have valued Kirk if he did not get hurt. Of course, he did. So it's a moot point to the conversation. But I feel like it's a nice little asterisk for me to put on at the end that I feel like he was having an MVP level season given the environment, given the year.
Hey, shout out to Captain Kirk, and he did beat the 49ers right before he got hurt. So there's another check mark for Captain Kirk. My little tidbit, my little hot take.
Yeah.
You just watch out for a guy named C.J. Stroud. Just watch out. If he really tears apart the league here in the last few weeks, and he starts to creep up in terms of statistically, people are going to start to have arguments to say, okay, this guy's a rookie, came into a bad franchise who was in a full rebuild. They're in the playoffs. They have a winning record, and he has the stats like this. I think there'll be an argument to be made. I'm not sure if he should win it, but there'll be an argument to be made. We'll see how the season ends.
He is up there. He's up there in the odds now. He's leading the league in passing yards, by the way, by about 100 yards over Sam Howell, of all people. But
a bit of a weird year.
I think that's true. I think it's true. It is. Like, that's good. Yeah.
Let's go to our last topic here and wrap up the podcast. For some reason, people think that we're a West Coast podcast, or that we're 49ers fans, because our best content is 49ers content. So shout out to anyone, the subscribers who follow along. If you're out there on the West Coast, yeah, we're going to talk about the 49ers because they are now the betting odds leader to win the Super Bowl. So they dethroned Kansas City and the Eagles. And so, easy money would say at this point, take San Francisco to win it all. Betting favorites. So sort of the question is this the year that the 49ers finally break through and actually win the Super Bowl? And, my answer to this question is very simple. The 49ers are easily the best team in the league when healthy. And you can put that asterisk on anybody, but you have to specifically state it for the 49ers because they are the most injury-prone team in the league in the last 5 or 10 years. Go look on the channel. We've done topics about this. Don't want to rehash the same statistics, but it's most likely either something to do with the infrastructure and their training staff has gone awry, or just the style of play, the aggressive and violent style of play that they have leads to more injuries. And if you can literally look at it, not even just as, a couple years ago, last year, literally last year when Brock Purdy gets hurt, and he's already the third string QB at that point. You can literally look this year. Deebo Samuel was out for a few games. McCaffrey was hurt during that. Brock Purdy had a concussion during that, or was in concussion protocol. They lost 3 games straight when not fully healthy. Okay. They also had some offensive linemen out as well. I'm sure that they've had injuries before and after that during their win streaks, but just there, they struggled on offense. And in the third game, they also struggled on defense, gave up 31 to the Cincinnati Bengals. Before that, the defense held the Vikings to, I think, 20 points and the Browns to 19 points. And they still lost both those games because the offense couldn't get going, couldn't score on those teams, couldn't score 19 points, right? Even though, I guess the Browns game could have gone either way on a missed kick, but it shouldn't have been that close to be able to lose that game. So when they're not healthy, whether it be at QB or otherwise, you can't trust them. I mean, you can't trust them against the Vikings, right? So you're supposed to take them against the Eagles. I understand that they had the Cowboys number, but I just can't bet on them being healthy, and so I think it's just hard for me to say that they will win the Super Bowl. What do you think, Jack?
Yeah, yeah. I think first of all, I think they could be starting all backups and probably still beat the Cowgirls. Probably, unfortunately for them, for whatever reason. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, no. But jokes aside, I think your analysis is great. That when healthy comment, I think is great because when healthy, they gave the Eagles a shellacking last week. Right, that was a oof, 42-19. They had what was it? Sam Darnold was taking the knee against them, right? That's the level. That's the situation it was. So that's when everything's firing on all cylinders. It's oof. It's it's like Eminem and Rihanna. When it's going good, it's going great, right? It's like that's what it's like. That's what it's like with them, right? Oof. But I mean, you're right about the injuries. I think they're gonna get to close out the season. They play the Seahawks, which I think they'll win. Seahawks are nice. I like them enough, but I think Drew Lock. That's what it is. Drew Lock, I think, is starting because Gino, I think, got hurt a bit in practice. Maybe not. Oh, I don't think seriously. Hopefully not. But I think Drew Lock is starting for the Seahawks. They're going to win that. Cardinals, they're going to win. I have to think. Ravens, that's an interesting game. And that's a game that'll make us all think about them. If they lose against the Ravens, then we have to think Ravens are a good team. What does it matter? That's Christmas night. That's a Christmas night game.
Oh, I'm excited.
Excited for that. But I mean, other than that, then they play Commanders and they play Rams. So it's not. There have been easier schedules. I'm sure every NFC South team has an easier schedule than that. but like there have been easier. There have been harder. There have been a lot harder schedules. They'll come out. They should probably be a 12-13 win team. They're going to be that top sort of seed. They're going to get to play not the NFC South team if it's if they have to play wild card weekend, but they're gonna have to they're gonna get to play a relatively bad team, and it's gonna be nice for them. They're gonna get to play the 7 seed or a bye, or a bye if the Eagles lose a couple more, right? Or if whoever is number one. So that's why this team would love the bye for that reason you're saying. Because if Brock Purdy gets hurt, despite what I was saying last segment about put Sam Darnold in it's still a playoff team. Despite that, I don't think Sam Darnold's winning a playoff game the way Brock Purdy would. Take him out. All the sort of stuff we were saying about Brock Purdy should be MVP like that. Take him out. This team is not going to win a playoff game. I don't think, even with the level of talent, because quarterback is so important. And he's, he could easily get hurt again.
Yeah. Now be careful. You don't want to back into a Brock Purdy for MVP argument here. That would be somehow you gotta rope that logic off. But no, I 100% agree with you that yes, if Brock Purdy went down, I mean they could beat the Cowboys with Sam Darnold, I'm sure. But like you said, but besides that, they're not going to probably beat the Eagles. They're
or the Falcons. They're teams they're
very gettable.
Probably beat.
Yes,
but,
they're very gettable.
But
here's the thing. We've seen when healthy, when everything goes right, they were one play away from winning the Super Bowl. They were one Jimmy G pass, overthrown from beating Mahomes and possibly, for all we know, changing the outcome of both those franchises, right? Permanently. Jimmy G is now a Super Bowl champion. He probably never leaves San Francisco. And Patrick Mahomes, maybe he never recovers from that Super Bowl loss. Instead, now, obviously, Mahomes is a multiple Super Bowl champ, and Jimmy G isn't going to be playing in this league anymore at this point. So it's things obviously a single throw, but we've seen that they can win it all when it all goes right. Yeah, like you said, but it's just usually doesn't for this team.
And I think Brock Purdy's better than Jimmy G. I don't know if that's an early take, maybe, but Jimmy G had an uncanny knack for winning, but Brock Purdy's done a lot right starting out of right off the gate. I mean,
that could just be San Francisco.
It's hard. It's hard to bet against San Francisco. To circle back, it's hard for me to bet against them. Better teams, maybe part of it's injuries. Maybe I could be a Bengals stan. Not that they started the season that great with Burrow, but if Burrow was playing, maybe I could be like, ooh, that's my team. If I could think the Vikings, I could have been, ooh, if Kirk was playing, ooh, the Vikings, ooh. If it seemed like the Chiefs were playing amazing football, I could be, ooh, the Chiefs. But no, they're really not. They're it's the Chiefs. I'm not discounting them, but it's not like it's not like, ooh, I'm scared of the. If I'm the 49ers fan, I'm not scared of the Chiefs. I'm not scared of the Eagles. We just beat them by 20 something.
No, and they shouldn't
If
be
you're a
scared
40,
of anybody at this point
Yeah.
because they've in the NFC this season they've, like you said, shellacked the two other best teams in the conference. And then the AFC is pretty much wide open, and there's doubts on all the teams over there.
Yeah.
So
who are they going to play? They're going to play the Rams. They're going to play the Rams with 95-year-old Matthew Stafford, 102-year-old Aaron Donald. They're going to play them first. Then they're going to play the Falcons. Then they're going to play the Eagles, who they just beat by a ton of the NFC. Like they could easily have an incredibly easy path to the Super Bowl too, if they get the 1 seed or something. They could get a bye and then play the Falcons, and then have to play a single good team, right? Whoever the two, it's the Eagles or the Cowboys, right? And if it's the Cowboys, guess what? Like if I had to pick a team to beat the Cowboys, I'm picking the Niners, right?
yeah, I mean, I'd be betting the house on that one.
Like they have the potential with the schedule, with how they're playing, to have an easy, even path to the Super Bowl. And then who beats them? The Jags? Are the Jags beating them? I can see why they're the betting favorite. If I had to pick a betting favorite, I would pick them, right? So yeah,
that is fair. It's just I think
no
I
offense
think
to any Jags fans.
I really do think if McCaffrey is hurt, I think that they're not going to the Super Bowl. I mean, I
would agree with that.
Even in the games that they lost, he was. I mean, when the offense couldn't get things going, McCaffrey was still going. Right? It was like all on the ground. It was all on the ground against the Browns. And Purdy was throwing interceptions. So if McCaffrey goes down, even with the other skilled players, I mean, you could almost make an argument for McCaffrey for MVP.
Yeah, I mean, hey, early in the season, you could. He's still up there in odds.
In a different NFL, in a not so pass-heavy NFL,
Yeah. I mean that's part of the issue with it. Not to extend this too long, but that's part of it with what you were saying. You take out McCaffrey as well. It's not just Brock Purdy. If he gets hurt, you're done. I think you take out McCaffrey, he gets hurt, you're done.
Yep. And it's likely
think maybe
he's injury prone.
Yeah. Maybe you could take out Debo and you're okay because you still have Ayuk. If it's just Debo, I think you're okay. If it's just Kittle, I think you're like, there's stuff like that. If it's just them, but like it's okay. But if it's Kittle and Ayuk, I think that's enough. There's enough pieces where I think you chip their armor a little bit. I think it could be you take out Nick Bosa. The defensive line's been playing okay, but like it's not like Nick Bosa's been having a career year like last year. But like take out Nick Bosa, right? The defense hasn't been playing, I feel like, on the same level as we felt like they were last year. I've not read all the stats on that, but like, I could see a lot of there's a lot of pieces where you feel like you lose this dude, it's over.
If you look at the games, right? Also, if you look at the games that Purdy lost this year, in that 3-game skid, a lot of his poor performance was because he was under a lot of pressure. He had an offensive lineman out, and like so many quarterbacks, he's just not very good when he's under duress.
If you lose Trent Williams, that line is bad, right?
Yep.
If you lose him, that line officially turns to bad, not just average. So I mean, I believe that's an issue too.
I mean, we saw Patrick Mahomes lose a Super Bowl because of that. So it's not necessarily a knock on Purdy.
Yeah,
it's just if they can't protect, they're not gonna win.
Yeah, that's how it is. Yeah.
So, this was an absolute banger of a podcast. I think we had some spicy takes in there. We try to provide logical and reasonable football analysis.
Football analysis.
Sometimes we got to let him fly a little bit. I'm out on Bill Belichick. Listen, send him to the Wolves. He's probably going to go win 3 championships with another franchise, and that because of how bad my takes are.
It would be so inflammatory of Bill if he goes to the Chargers and then wins this. Imagine that. Imagine he goes to the Chargers and then they win the Super Bowl next year.
Yeah,
That would be, because that's like Brady going to the Bucks, winning it. Imagine if he wins the Super Bowl next year, NFC Championship, right? If he does the sort of Brady trajectory,
the
right?
Brady
going to the
arguments
Bucks.
come back around where they
And
say
it comes back.
it was closer to 50-50 because now it's more like it was all
and
Brady.
Then even
it feels like,
and then even you look at the last Belichick years in New England, and you say, I don't know, you make something up and blame Mac, you blame Kraft, you blame,
and you won't. People won't
maybe
remember that.
Bill.
People won't
exactly.
remember.
You
that.
won't remember it.
You remember when Cam Newton was starting for you guys? What the hell was that about? What was going on?
COVID year, COVID year, fake
COVID year,
fake year.
That championship doesn't count. All right,
Mickey Mouse championship right there.
Yeah, listen, guys. If you like what you listened to and you made it all the way through the podcast, thank you. Make sure you like and subscribe so you see our videos. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on YouTube. Full video podcast there. Jack, you have anything else?
No. But believe it or not, I don't.
Wow. You know what? Hopefully we'll be back next week if all things go well. Once again, thanks for watching. This is 710 Sports with
Jack
and Jared. We'll see you next week.